One.
Hi, everyone. This is Craig Proctor, and welcome to the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. My special guests from the Sacramento County area are Nick Judd and Patrick Cannon. Hey, guys, welcome to the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you found me, and what's been happening in your business.
Well, we're the Judd team. We're in Sacramento area, so we service a couple of places, both Placer County, Sacramento, and El Dorado County. How we found you was, man, I've been a broker owner for about 5 years, slow, steady growth, and went to one of those 3-day seminars. Got a little hooked. That was about 4+ years ago. Dove in and did like a few of us, right? Dove in, nibbled around the edges for a few years, started to really listen to you, got a good second person to help me start implementing, and now we're seeing significant changes. So we're excited about what we're doing now.
So next question is, how did you guys find each other?
Well, Matt, that goes way back. Actually, I met Pat when I got married.
I was 12.
Cool. Now, today, we're going to talk about how to raise your fee, which every real estate agent should be interested in, especially in an environment where everybody wants to pay real estate agents less money. And this whole idea of only working with buyers who commit to us in the form of a VIP buyer agreement. So you didn't used to do it that way. Now you have these very strong rules of engagement. So talk about, how did you get there from pretty much, you're working with a buyer and you're accepting whatever is being offered by the listing agent or the seller, to actually having a bit more control in your business, where number one, you've got an overflow of business, which allows you the luxury to pick and choose who you want to work with, and explain, I guess, how you do it and the mind shift to get there.
I'll start a little bit, because this is kind of a unique, I don't know, maybe not unique, but it is interesting that those who have been in the business are a little slower to change. And that was me, right? Pat and I, we had got the VIP agreements, modified them for us from Craig Proctor Systems, and I slowly started to kind of do it. But then Pat came back with one signed agreement for a VIP. This was actually a seller at this time. And this is where I was the most hesitant. The buyer side seemed fairly easy. We could pitch it to them, show our benefits. We love our VIP buyer agreement because it's all about them. What do we do for them? Versus our California contracts, all about CYA, the agent, right? There's nothing for the consumer, for the client. There's no protection there. But Pat came back with a couple of these signed agreements where I was hesitant, and I was the old dog trying not to change. But boy, you get a young whippersnapper that starts showing you up. You either got to step up or get out of the way, right? So I had to step up. So, I mean, that was a pretty cool lesson for me.
Let's make sure everyone understands the major point that you just made, Nick, which is, in real estate, whether we're working with a buyer or a seller, we use the state or the real estate board form. So, for example, if I list someone's house, I could say during the listing presentation to the seller, "Oh, I do all these wonderful things," but the actual listing agreement that the seller signs really just says, "I'm going to represent you and place your house on MLS."
Exactly. Nothing.
Right. So you make all these promises, but it's just kind of verbal in your presentation. Now, I even had sellers over the years say to me, "But this thing you're having me sign, this listing agreement, just doesn't even say you're going to stick a sign on the line. It just says you're going to submit my listing to MLS." Same thing with when you're working with buyers. We want them to sign a buyer agency agreement. Let's talk about why that's important. I mean, I don't think there's any real estate agent that would work with a seller if the seller said, "Hey, Nick and Patrick, I'm not really big in commitment. You do open houses and advertise and market my house, and if you bring a buyer, maybe I'll pay you." We wouldn't do that. So we have strong rules of engagement with sellers, which is, you sign a contract with us, or we're not going to go spend our time and our money. So we can do the same thing with buyers. And what's important, and the comment you made is, in California, in every state. The buyer agency agreement basically talks about representation, but it doesn't add on all of the extra things that you would do if you were representing a buyer. So many, many years ago in Craig Proctor world, we said, well, that's kind of dumb. We need to create our own buyer agreement called the VIP buyer agreement that lists all the advantages that a buyer would derive from our representation, in addition to just saying, we're going to look out for your best interest. Now, we've kind of perfected this. I say kind of because it keeps getting more perfected over time as we add more value, home warranties, and we add more value to what the buyer gets, to the point now where Craig Proctor members like yourself have actually got so good at this that you're able to negotiate your fee directly with a buyer instead of just accepting whatever's being offered on MLS, which pretty soon might be zero by the sounds of things.
Well, we're one of those that actually do zero listings.
We offer zero.
Yes, we offer zero. Now, everybody freaked out, I suppose, when you started doing that. But now, look who's getting sued. Everybody that was doing it the other way. So talk about this transition, because this is a paradigm. And I know a lot of you watching this today may be a little bit skeptical that we can actually get buyers and sellers to come to us. We can get them to sign a contract where we dictate what we're going to get paid. So you get to decide, hey, what am I worth? Now, of course, you have to be able to also articulate value. So buyers and sellers, number one, want to work with you. And number two, they're willing to pay you more money. So if your paradigm right now is, well, my marketplace is different, because guys, we hear that a lot, right? Like I think what you're saying, Nick, is it took Patrick to kind of come along and do this. And you're like, oh, I guess we can do this, right? So this is very normal. And this is why in the Craig Proctor world, we all hang out as groups and we have meetings to push each other, because the tendency is to immediately judge an idea and be comfortable with what we know, and we're uncomfortable with what we don't know. And so during this interview, I just want to warn everyone, as we get into how this works, don't immediately judge this. Do not have the attitude of, or the focus of how this won't work or why this can't work for you. Instead, flip it around in your mind and say, you know what? What if this is true? Right? Instead of thinking about all the reasons why it won't work, instead focus on how you can make it work. So I'll let you guys take it away. So that's basically what you heard. Many years ago, you heard this. And so now it's, Nick, it's about closing the gap between what you know and what you're currently doing. Yeah. And so how did that happen? And explain this transition and where you are today with your rules of engagement when it comes to working with buyers.
Let me add just a little on that, where, I was hesitant to do it, but now that I am doing it, I'm also seeing multiple benefits for the consumer, which is really interesting. We're seeing us being able to negotiate better deals for our clients. And on the seller side, we're seeing agents having to negotiate their commission back in, which is, in a sense, netting our sellers more money, which we can kind of talk a little bit into that. But it's the biggest transition for me was just really doing it, changing that mindset. And that's what probably our number one call when we do get calls on our 0% listings, right? Is we get all these agents that are like, well, how is my buyer going to pay me? And we kind of look at each other almost dumbfounded, like, they're already paying you. You just don't know how to articulate your value and put it in the deal. Like, we're not trying to change a whole lot of things. We're just trying to make sure it's more clear who gets paid and why, and where it's really coming from.
So you just did a really good job of explaining that, and you're taking them from maybe a place of frustration to they're agreeing with you, and they're like, yeah, this is a good idea.
Oh yeah. After I'm done with that conversation, even I had call her a senior agent. She's like, she called up, almost frustrated. I've been doing this for 30 something years. I've never seen a 0% commission. And I said, well, what do you want to make? 4, 8, 10%? I said, we'll pay you 10%. You bring us one hell of an offer. And she giggled, and just as I explained it, she understood. So the more I'm doing it, the more I'm dipping my toe in, the faster I'm getting into the pool of understanding. And it really, like I said, it was almost Pat leading me or dragging me into the pool by him jumping in. So maybe I'll let him kind of talk a little about how he kind of did it. His perspective might be a little different.
Yeah, I mean, going to the seminars and stuff, we talked about this a lot. And like you said, there was a lot of this sounds good. This sounds like a bit, I'd sure like to do that, but there was the hesitancy there, and the mindset wasn't I can do this. The mindset was my market's different. People aren't going to accept this. And then I was talking to one of the other members at one of the conferences, and she was telling me, well, why the heck aren't you doing it? Just go do it. And something at that conference, like, flipped a switch in my head, and I'm like, yeah, why don't I do that? What's the worst that can happen? They can tell me no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that again, that's why when we congregate together and you're speaking to other Craig Proctor members that are doing things that you aren't doing, or they're doing better than you, you have to ask yourself, well, why are all these other people successfully doing this? What's holding me back? And, I always ask realtors this question. I say, hey, if I was in front of like 500 realtors at a seminar today, and I said on stage, if I said, what's the number one thing that you think is holding you back? Most people say it's me, right?
Yeah.
I'm the number one person that's holding me back. So, all right. So, how did you start off with this? So you've decided, okay, we're going to do this. My marketplace really isn't different. There's no real reason for us not to negotiate our fee to whatever we want with buyers and sellers. It's a paradigm. We're going to start, when we take a listing on, we're going to offer 0 to the buyer agent. And of course, the concern is real estate agents are going to freak out. Oh my God, we're not going to show your listings, whatever. And then Nick, you just explained how you handle that. You say to the realtor with the buyer, well, you can earn whatever fee you want. What do you want? 3%, 4%, 5%. And you kind of show them how that works. But we were absolutely right. We were like, 10 years ahead of our time with this. In fact, when Todd Walters and I wrote the book 10 years ago, entitled The Death of the Traditional Real Estate Agent and the Rise of the Super Profitable Sales Team, in the book, we talk about the fact that the buyer commission is going to go away and that real estate agents need to learn how to negotiate their own fee with buyers and sellers. Now, we didn't think that 0 would be what is legally going to be allowed, which looks like where we're heading here, where sellers are not going to be offering anything, nor should they be. I mean, that's the crazy thing about it. Real estate agents will fight this point, and we're like, well, why would the seller pay for a buyer agent that's clearly by laws representing the buyer's interest? It doesn't make sense. So, okay, so you made this decision. We're going to do this. We're going to go for it. And you've got all this angst about my market's different. The other agents are going to freak out. And you got to sell this to your whole team, and they're going to freak out, right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Here they go. Nick and Patrick have been to another Craig Proctor conference. They're coming back, going to change everything up. So how did this start? You just cold turkey said, okay, from now on, when we list a house, we're offering 0. And when a buyer comes to us, we're going to write in our fee, and we're going to figure out how to get the seller to pay for it. So which one of you guys want to go first on how this all started to get implemented?
I'll start, and then I'll let Pat finish it up. But it really just started with the VIP buyer agreement, right? So we, almost 2.5 years ago, started fine tweaking, just slowly putting it in, telling the buyers. We were very nonchalant, almost scared to make the offer, but we would tell them, hey, our fee is 3%, but the seller pays for it, so don't worry about it. Even if they don't pay all of it, we'll waive it. Now we're more like, hey, our fee is 3%. And we're going to go after the seller to get it. The question's always like, well, what if they don't pay? And we're so confident. We're like, no, we're really good negotiators. They'll pay us. And at times where we didn't collect it all, we just did a really good thing, which was, hey, we gave you a sweet discount. Could you do us a favor? We need an awesome 5-star review and tell the world about us. I mean, we're not out to kind of kill a deal by any means. We're in it for the long haul. So once you get comfortable with that, then you switch it to the listing side and it becomes a lot more fun. So I'm gonna let Pat kind of talk about the listing side.
Yeah. Well, and to step back to the buyers, the interesting thing and the really fun thing is the first time the seller doesn't pay you and the buyer does.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, they're not going to pay you? Oh no, I'll take care of that." And it's like, "Oh wait. Yes, I do have value. I've showed you value. I worked my butt off for you and you see that and then I'm rewarded for that in the end." So that piece is really a confidence builder when it happens, and it will happen when you do it, but it's just about starting, implementing it, and then doing it. And then like Nick said, we took that and we started looking at the listing side, and
We did it the same way, right? We slowly just decreased the buyer commission. Now it's 2.5, 2, 1.75, 1. And
You know, the irony is you actually get less grief from the other realtors when it's at 0.
yeah.
talk about that. That's
With
cool.
it being at 1, we had so many people who just thought we were awful.
Right.
When it's at 0, it's easier to explain. You can say, you know, my client isn't setting a set amount of commission for you. They're leaving your commission up to you. You decide what you want to make.
Now, how
And
do they respond to that? When you
they
say, this is better for you because you get to this, you know, you decide what you want to earn and we're going to try to get it for you.
Some respond great. They're like, "Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Show me how to do it."
I think most of them respond
Yeah.
that. There are a handful that, I don't know, some of my luxury agents that have called me on one of our more luxury property we did just this month. They were the ones that just couldn't wrap their head around it. Like, well, I would never tell my client how much I make. I'm like, but they know. Well, they won't pay me, but they do. Like, you just haven't told them how you get paid, and it's really interesting.
Right. Commissions get paid out of the proceeds of the sale, right?
Yeah.
And there's that argument of like, well, who pays the commission? Some would say, well, the seller pays the commission, but some would also say, well, without a willing buyer, there would be no transaction and there would be no commission. So the truth is, both the buyer and seller come together on this transaction, and the commission is paid out of the proceeds of the sale.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, real estate as an industry is going to have to really get used to the fact that there will be 0 paid on MLS for the agent that represents the buyer. That's that's not, look at all these court cases. It's clearly one, like the companies that have settled out of court, like Remax. One of the things they had to agree to was, first of all, our members don't have to be, our agents don't have to be members of NAR. And number 2, we're going to allow 0. Okay. And so there, with all these lawsuits going on, there's some negotiations going back and forth, and things are going to change very rapidly. And I'm so glad we're talking about this today. So agents are prepared for, well, how do I do this? And another thing I wanted to ask you guys about, what do you think the future of the MLSs are? Because the MLSs are described to us as, well, it's a commission sharing portal. But if there's no commission sharing, we've got to wonder what's the future of MLS.
We have a love-hate relationship with Zillow.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, well, we hate the fact that they sell of our inventory to other agents, but we do love the fact that it's kind of an open information of all the properties. And so we kind of see it as eventually going to be, what's the best way to describe that? Open source? I hate to describe it.
Basically an open source type of a deal where everybody has the access to everything.
Yeah, that's how it works over in Australia. They have, I think they've got 2 national websites, like a Zillow site. And, you know, anytime a home is listed, it's posted there. And a lot of Australian buyers, though, just contact the listing agent. They don't have their own representation. That's where we do a much better job here, is buyers want representation. And since all of the commission gets paid out of the proceeds of sale, it just needs to be explained to both buyers and sellers, which you guys do a great job. Okay, let's shift gears for a minute. Let's pretend I'm a buyer. Okay, so yeah, I could have this attitude. I could use anyone in Sacramento. I could use any of the agents, and they won't make me sign anything. And, I don't have to commit to them, and I can go look at a bunch of houses. What benefits do I derive by committing to you? Give me your some of the benefits that I get for committing to you and working with you and only you.
You have good experience on this one just now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had this a few times. Really big right now are new builds. We all know that new builds are huge. The way that a lot of buyers see new builds are that I just go in, I make my purchase, and it's kind of like going to Target and buying a house. You have what's on the shelf and you get it. And the perception is that if I go in and I don't use an agent, it's going to save me more money. That's a lot of times not the case, though.
Right.
My last two, three buyers, we've saved each of them over and above what the builder was going to offer them. We've saved them $20,000 to $40,000 in addition, and gotten things like solar included. Here in California, you have to have solar on the house, and most of the builders make you lease it. We all know that's not a great idea to do, and so we get them to pay for that and include it in the sale, so it saves the buyer money in the long run and gets them more value for their home. So there's little things like that that are going to increase the value for the buyer that on their own they wouldn't be able to do. The other thing is too, we offer our guaranteed buyer protection plan. So
I love this. Everyone here up, and we do have some questions. We'll take some of those questions. For example, we just had a question. Well, how's a buyer agent going to get paid if zero is being offered? So we'll take some questions here in a bit. But talk about the buyer protection, because this is huge and totally differentiates you from anyone else.
Yeah. So our buyer protection plan is essentially, if our buyer comes in and purchases one of our homes, if they don't love that home within the first 12 months, we're going to buy that home back from them, or we're going to sell it for free. And so it's the peace of mind there for the buyer that what they're doing is a good choice. And if they come back and they don't love the house, we're going to stand behind them and we're going to do the right thing by them.
And how long can so I buy a home from you, how long do I have to decide whether I like this place or not?
You've got 12 months. So you can live in that home for almost a year. And if you don't love it, we're going to step in and take care of that for you and make sure that you do find a home that you love.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you say you're going to take care of it, what specifically does that mean? So for whatever reason, I buy a house from you. And the way we position this, by the way, is unlike other realtors who might just try to sell you a house, we try to sell you the right house. Mm-hmm. In fact, we're so confident that we're going to sell you the right house. No house is perfect. We're going to sell you the best house for you. That anytime within 12 months, if you're not happy with this house, now here's how I did it. You guys can say if it's the same way, but I would say to them, I'll either sell your house for free, as long as you buy your next house with me, or I'll buy it back. And if we buy it back, it has nothing to do with what they paid for it. It's about what it's worth now, and we guarantee a percentage of market value. So that's pretty.
My favorite way to answer that, by the way, because people always like, why aren't you going to pay what I pay? And I say, well, that sounds fantastic. What if the housing market goes up 25%?
Right.
Or we're in California, so things shift quite a bit. Would you like me to pay what you paid? And the answer is always no.
That's a really good response.
And I said, well, then it's the same for me. So the risk is held equally. And the other thing that we always say to this is just, kind of risk reversal, which we learned from you. And it's just letting them know, hey, we're in it for the long haul to find you the right house. So if you need to see 6 houses or 12 houses or, albeit I think I've showed like 36 houses. Well, we want you to find the right house. We really don't want to buy houses back, but we want you to make sure you're comfortable working with us. And we have different things that other people do not offer. So that's one of the cool things that we like to do.
How many of you would agree? Let us know in comments. We're getting some comments from YouTube here, some from Facebook. Let us know if you were to say that to a buyer, say, hey, one of the points of difference, one of the reasons why you should commit to working with me versus the other agents is we give you a love it or leave it guarantee. In writing, we guarantee that you're going to love the house that we sell you. And anytime within 12 months, if you don't feel that that's the case, we'll either sell your home for free or we'll buy it back and the buyback would be based on coming to an agreement on market value. Okay, now what about a home warranty? Do you do any home warranties?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we guarantee that they'll have a home warranty covered either by the seller or we pick up the check. So the nice part is we're really good negotiators. So I don't think we've picked up a home warranty check yet.
So realtors, can you see how this works? We're starting, the baseline is they sign the state agreement, right? Or your real estate board agreement, okay? Which basically says, I'm going to represent you. Well, that's fine. But on top of that, what we're doing is we're value stacking. So you get the home warranty, you get the love it or leave it buyback guarantee. So the question is how many benefits can we stack on top, one on top of another, until the buyer is convinced that, oh, okay, yeah, there is a difference, and I can see the benefit of committing to work with you. Now, so we go through this whole presentation, benefit, 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 benefit. And, you know, the old saying is price is only an issue in the absence of value. So if we do a really good job with this buyer presentation, rather than doing what most agents do, which is, well, you know, I work at Remax and I've been in this town for 17 years and I'm a really good negotiator. No, it's got to be better than what everyone else is doing. We've got to have some tangible benefits, and we just lay one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. And now we get to the fee, and the fee is whatever you want it to be, right? So, and I know that's hard for you to, you know, within reason, it's not going to be 100%, but is it going to be 2.5%, 3%, 4%? So you can experiment with this. And what happens over time is you get the confidence that you're able to raise your fee.
That's right.
That's what you guys basically did, right? When you were lowering the fee on your listings, you're like, well, we lowered it from 3 to 2.5. Nobody really freaked out. Then we went to 2. But then when you went too low, you find out people did freak out, and it was better just to go to 0.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, the lawsuit made it easier for us, right? So beginning of this year, we just said, all right, everything's on 0. And then when people call, we just quickly say, yeah, it's crazy how a $5 billion lawsuit changes an industry.
Right.
You know,
It did make it way easier. I totally agree. Now you can just say, well, you know, that it's we don't want to get sued because we're making the seller pay for the buyer's service.
Yeah. Right. It's almost baffling how many agents we hear say, "What lawsuit?" Like,
yeah, I don't know how you're in real estate and you don't know about that. Okay, so here's the rules of engagement. You meet with the buyer has to meet with you. You're not running around showing them a bunch of houses until or unless they meet with you. Now, do they pay you a retainer fee?
We don't do that here in California.
Okay.
There's a couple of laws that we're working with. I know we've got a couple other Californian agents inside the, your home sold guaranteed brokerage, trying to figure out a best way to do that, but no one seemed to have found a great way to do it. So we don't do that here yet.
Okay,
we're looking at it.
That's important for everyone to know. We would never suggest that you do anything that, you know, is going to get you in trouble in your state or area. So, but we're always trying to figure out how can we make it happen legally, right? How can we do it? And that should be everyone's mindset. I want to repeat this again. This is real, and this is happening, and it's happening with hundreds and hundreds of Craig Proctor members all over the United States and Canada. You could have the attitude of what's wrong with this. You could be a naysayer. You could throw this idea out the window, but you're literally costing your family hundreds of thousands of dollars by having that attitude. Yeah. What I recommend is you say, you know what? This sounds really different. It sounds interesting. I think all of you would like to get a pay raise, right? Would anyone watching this be furious if we showed you how to get a pay raise? No. So you should be really interested in, well, how do I make this work legally, ethically? How do I do this? So let's take some of our questions here. This is a question from YouTube. And we've covered this, but let's do it again. How are buyer agents supposed to negotiate to get paid when 0 is being offered on your listing?
Yeah, so really easy, actually. So it starts with you being transparent with your buyer, and you're going to build value from the very beginning. So you sit down with them, you explain exactly what you do, what you're going to do for them, and how you get paid. That's all part of the the first conversation that you should have so that everybody's on the same page. Once you build value, your buyer won't even question you making money. They know you make money. You're just explaining to them how.
I think the nuts and bolts really is just put it in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard. You can write it in the addendum section. California actually has a form,
Have a checkbox.
little checkbox, and it says seller paid buyer commission. And then it just says what you charged your buyer, what's being offered in the MLS and whatever that is, and what the remainder is you're asking. So it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
You just got to ask for it, put it in the contract.
It's so much easier. When our members first start to do this, they're sweating it and they're anxious about it. And they're like, oh, that was really easy. I sat down with the buyer agreement, talked about all the benefits. And I said, and you get all this and our fee is 4%, and the buyer signs it. Okay, here's another question. This is from Terry. This is a different outlook on it, but Terry's asking, at what point does a realtor look desperate for business when giving away so many benefits? I wouldn't look at it as desperate. I mean, that would be like saying when I meet with a seller to try to get the listing, if I tell the seller a whole bunch of benefits, things that I do, that makes me look weaker. I think it's the opposite. I think, the way I would look at this is if I'm the buyer or seller, I want to go with the realtor that is giving away, quote, giving away more benefits. That's what I'm looking for. So,
one of our benefits is the, no risk listing and a no risk buyer VIP. They can cancel us at any time, right? But it's in the we have it in there, it's written there. Anytime you don't think we're performing up to what we say we're going to do, you just cancel.
So look at all the things that we have for buyers. Okay, a lot of these things you folks that are watching here already do. So, when you meet with a buyer, you're going to get the buyer pre-qualified for financing, right? Yep. That's good for the buyer because we don't want to waste time showing the buyers homes above or below their price range. And we want to help the buyer get the best mortgage, right? The lowest interest rates, the lowest monthly payments, the lowest down payment. That's something all of you do. And you don't charge anything for that. That's like a free service. I don't think that weakens your position. It's something that buyers want. It's good for the buyer. Then you get access, priority access to all the houses that are for sale on MLS, right? That's another thing that every real estate agent in the country would say is, hey, when you work with me, we're going to get you pre-approved and we're going to email you daily updates of all the homes on MLS. Now, we go to the extra mile and we say, but we're also going to get you access to homes that are not available to the open public, homes that are not currently listed for sale. And these are owned by homeowners that are thinking of selling, but they haven't yet listed their home for sale. So, you tell us the area you're looking in, and the buyer says, well, I'd really like to buy in Glenway Estates. Great. We're going to send you all the homes that are listed by all the agents on MLS from all the different companies, but we're also going to go into that neighborhood and we're going to find homeowners that are thinking of selling that haven't yet listed their home for sale. So you literally, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would be the only ones to know about some of these homes. Now, you're watching this and you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I find unlisted homes? How do I get access to unlisted and off-market homes? These are some of the things that we teach you to do. Now, before you crush the idea, okay, I want everyone to think, is that a good idea? Okay, I know you guys don't know how to do it, but if you did know how to do it, if you could say to your buyer, I'm going to get you pre-approved, I've got the best financing, I'm going to get you access to all the homes in MLS, plus homes that are not available to the open public. So literally, I'm offering you things that you can't get on your own. This information is not being offered by any other real estate agent. Okay. If you don't like me at any time, you can cancel the listing agreement. Okay. We're giving you a home warranty where if anything goes wrong with this house, you're covered. You've got a year to live in the house. If you don't like the house for any reason, we don't care why, we'll either sell it for free or buy it back. And we can keep going here, folks. But do you guys understand? This is how we do it, right? We coach you up on the words that need to come out of your mouth. So the buyer at some point goes, yeah, this sounds great. And the better job you do of articulating your value, the less the fee becomes a problem. The fee is only a problem when you throw down a piece of paper in front of them. You say, look, I got really nothing for you, but I want you to pay me 4%. So it is being done. This is what we're talking about here. Raising your fee when you're working with sellers and buyers is being done by hundreds and hundreds of Craig Proctor clients. Been done for 8 years now, all over the United States and Canada. And yes, if you're in Canada, it works there too. It's interesting because that is the thing, Nick and Patrick, that we hear almost immediately from everybody on this subject is, yeah, but guys, I understand how that would work for you, but my marketplace is different.
Absolutely. We thought that too.
Yep. Very normal.
Very normal.
So if you're feeling that way, just know that Nick, Patrick, everybody that hears about this is like, well, you don't want to know what it's like in California. It's different here. Or, if you're talking to another Craig Proctor member in California and they're in San Diego, well, I can see how that would work in San Diego, but here in Sacramento County, it's like really different here. It's never going to work here. Very normal reaction. So let's focus on how we can do this, folks, coming into the year here. Let's try to raise our game. Now, the other thing that will help all of you be able to raise your fee is by having more clients. So if you had, so Nick and Patrick have a lot of buyers and sellers coming at them, more than they could possibly work with, which gives you a bit of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And what we learn by having this overflow is, wow, some of the buyers are actually better buyers than others. What I mean by better is they're more qualified, they're more motivated, they're more sincere, they're more fun to work with. So when you don't have enough business, you're forced to work with every buyer. And some buyers are jerks, right? Some buyers are a nightmare. And they're going to fight you and argue with you all the way through the transaction. And no matter how good a job you do, they're going to complain and probably write you a negative review. But there are buyers that are the opposite. We have buyers that are a delight to work with, and they say, so Nick and Patrick, how should we do this? Give us your advice. What offer do you think we should make? How do we counter this? Right? They know you, they like you, they trust you. You do it because they listen to you, they get great results, and then they send you a whole bunch of referrals. So step number one is we teach you how to create an overflow of business. And when you've got an overflow, you're not as afraid to try new things, right? It's like if you got too much business, like, well, I'm going to try to negotiate my fee. And if I don't do it right, I can always revert back to how I used to do it, which is, okay, we'll just accept whatever the listing agent's being offering. But you're going to start hanging out with Craig Proctor members that are going to push you on this, right? You go to a Craig Proctor meeting and you meet hundreds of agents that are doing this. And like you said, Patrick, one lady at our conference said, "Why, I can't believe you're not doing this yet," which, is kind of scars you a little bit. They're like, well, what do you mean you can't believe I'm not right? It's like, don't you get it? And so everybody pushes each other. Now, this is not something, by the way, that's only good for us real estate agents. Okay. This is something, what we're talking about here is actually good for the client. Look what Nick said. We give them a 100% cancellation agreement. We're not locking them in for 6 months or a year like our competitors. They can literally say, you know what, I'm not happy with this, and they can cancel it, and they can work with anybody else. But we have a list of many, many, many benefits. If you work with us, you're going to get this and this and this and this and this, and we pile it on list benefit after benefit after benefit, so we actually can negotiate our fee. Okay, now we're going to try to get the seller to pay for the fee. Okay, which is special training that you need. What do we have to insert in the offer? How do we get the seller to pay for it? Now, will the seller pay for it? Oh, that would never. Yes, this happens all the time. You just need to be trained and coached up on how to do it. Now, I wish we had more time here today to show you guys all the ins and outs, but it takes special training to understand how to, first of all, attract the clients. We're not talking about cold calling or door knocking. We're talking about buyers and sellers coming to you in abundance. And then next step is, how do I convert them to a phone call or a face-to-face appointment? And then I need to know what to say, right? If what I say isn't of interest to them, then you're not even getting the client. You don't have to worry about negotiating your fee, right? You don't have to, like, you've got to understand how to compel them to want to meet with you and speak with you. And now it's about, what do I need to say? So two things happen. Number one, they wouldn't consider using an ordinary real estate agent. They want to work with you and only you, even though you're charging them a higher fee. The fee is not the most important thing to the buyer or seller. Okay. A lot of real estate agents believe, well, it's all about the fee. So to compete, I just need to have the lowest fee. Okay. How about all the iBuyer companies? The iBuyer companies are offering convenience to home sellers. And home sellers are selling their house for a lot less money to an iBuyer company, knowingly selling their home for less money to an iBuyer company because they don't want to sell their home, have the hassle of selling it through traditional methods. So if you've got the right services, the right package here for buyers and sellers, they will come to you and they will pay you more money. That's our topic here today. Now, I want to offer everyone a free business consultation on this topic. Okay, for $0. You can go to craigproctorplan.com. We'll type that into the comments below. So no space, craigproctorplan.com. It's a clickable link. You'll go to My Acuity Daytimer, and you're going to pick a day and a time, and we'll talk to you about how this would work. What's any strings attached? No. We're going to show you how this works, and you can decide if this is something you'd be interested in getting trained up on. And if it doesn't interest you, just keep doing what you're doing. So go to craigproctorplan.com and you can book your free $0 business consultation. We call it a breakthrough call. Now, the last point I want to talk about here is your business, Nick and Patrick, is growing in leaps and bounds, and you need more agents to handle the overflow of business. So does everyone understand this? They can't go out to all the appointments. They've got so much business coming in. So why would a real estate agent in the greater Sacramento County area, why would they want to have a conversation about partnering up with you guys?
Well, one, we know how to handle the 0% commission, so
Yep.
we have no problem with that. Two, I think we're definitely showing better value to our clients. And we've been talking a lot about raising our fee, which is, of course, lucrative to us. But what I didn't notice or didn't understand until you start to do it is how much that really does benefit the clients. We're able to negotiate better deals on those new home builds. We're able to negotiate ourselves back into the deals because we know how. Because sometimes with new builds, right, they just kick you out. And so new builds are big in our area because housing market is still a shortage, and there is kind of a standing inventory of new builds. So if you go in without representation, most likely you're going to do the target shopping. But with one of us, we're going to ask for things that they didn't even think about. Have them pay for the solar. Most people don't even think about that. That's a $30,000, $40,000 value. So we can teach you not only how to get more dollars per deal, but also how that benefits the client. And that's what I think is fun and exciting for us.
Okay, so the coaching and training that you offer your team members is it's something that you guys focus on, because obviously the more money they make, the more money you make. So you're really focused on coaching and training on how to do this. Now, if I was to join up with your office, is this like a normal Keller Williams Remax thing where I've got to cold call and door knock and rely on my sphere of influence, or how does the business come to me?
So in-house, we do a lot of online marketing. Through your training, we've switched from Zillow ads, realtor ads, all the paid ads that they sell to everybody, to our own ads that generates incoming inquiries, calls that are just talking directly to the consumer without the competition of being sold to others. And we really had to take that switch and switch it over to, that golden ticket, if you will, of Zillow, just get that lead, to now we have people calling us. We're reaching out to actual people and talking to them without competition. So,
all right, let me get this straight, make sure that I'm understanding this. So instead of buying leads from platforms like Zillow, you decided I'm going to use Craig Proctor marketing, and I'm going to be responsible for generating my own business. I'm not going to buy the leads, which, by the way, we could argue, are they even leads or not? It's scraped information. They don't pick up the phone, by the way. If you notice, people aren't picking up the phone today. So you got to call 100 to reach 4 or 5 Zillow leads. And when you do finally reach 4 or 5 out of 100, they say, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do that. Someone was playing with my phone. Or you can run Craig Proctor marketing, where we offer buyers and sellers what they want. So we teach you what is it that buyers and sellers want. So the buyers and sellers are calling you instead of you making hundreds of phone calls to try to reach someone on the phone that's not even interested in buying or selling. Then we teach you, well, what do I say when they call us? How do I convert these? How do I, first of all, qualify the buyers and sellers? Because we don't want to meet with every buyer and seller. We don't want to meet with somebody just because they called us. We want to find out, well, what is their motivation, right? What is their timing? If they're motivated to buy or sell, and they're going to do something now, then of course we want to meet with them. But, it's not that easy. I can't just say, hey, Nick, I want to make some money. Would you meet with me? I've got to have, I've got to be able to articulate value for the buyer and seller to see the benefit of meeting with me. And then we have to have a presentation that creates this situation where the buyers and sellers go, wow, you guys really are different. You really are better, right? I want to work with you and only you. And then and that's the job of the presentation, by the way, is to create massive credibility and trust. Okay, so they trust you. They feel that you're credible, and you're offering them so much that they want to sign up with you. And we show you how to negotiate that fee. So there's a lot of training that goes into this, but you would make more money as a real estate agent in Sacramento County in most cases just partnering up with Nick and Patrick rather than being a solo agent doing what you're doing. And you might say, well, Craig Proctor, how do you know that? You don't know me. You don't know my situation. That's true. But if you didn't have to spend your money on marketing and advertising, which is probably not working that well for you, so you waste all this money on marketing and advertising, maybe you have an assistant, you've got all these expenses, right? Or you could just be fed listing appointments and buyer appointments by Nick and Patrick. And then they spend an enormous amount of time coaching you up on what to do and what to say when you meet with the buyers and sellers. You would net more money in your pocket because there really is no expenses, right? Versus what you're doing now. The average agent, if they make $100,000 at Remax or whatever, they're spending $30,000 or $40,000 to make the 100. So they're only netting $60,000. You'd be way better off to partner up with Nick and Patrick and make $100,000 or $200,000 net in your pocket. Let Nick and Patrick worry about the marketing, the lead generation. You just have to be a sponge and absorb all their coaching and training. Everything you want to do in real estate is already being done by Nick and Patrick. It's already being done. You don't have to have a creative bone in your body. They'll coach you, walk you through it, and they really care about your success. Again, the more successful you are, the more successful they are. So, best phone number or contact information for realtors in Sacramento County area. Okay, maybe you can tell us the counties you work, the area you work, and how realtors can get in touch with you.
We serve Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado counties. So we call it Tri-County. So if you're in the area, you know what that means. And then best email for me is nick@thejudteam.com. And what's our best number for them to reach out for?
Yeah, best phone number is 916-776-5323. So give us a call there. We'll show you how to increase your percentage of commission per sale. Just kind of as a testimonial for myself. Since we started implementing this, we've increased our commission over buyers and sellers combined over 1%. And that's huge. You had mentioned earlier, Craig, hey, I wish I could do this, or how much money are you losing out on? I can tell you exactly how much money I missed out on not doing this before, because I'm a big numbers guy, and I went back and did the calculations. And I'm like, oh man. And so that's our biggest thing, is we can help you to reach your full potential and really earn the income that you deserve.
And folks, if you're watching this right now, we've been at this for about 50 minutes, 50. So you're interested in this, right? You're here for a reason, or you wouldn't be still watching this. Reach out to these guys. This is real, okay? Ask your questions. And this is not unique. We have hundreds of Craig Proctor members all over the United States and Canada that are attracting buyers and sellers, where 1,000% of their buyers and sellers are coming to them. No cold calling, door knocking, buying Zillow leads, sitting in open house, not doing any of that stuff. They're using smart, modern marketing. Then they know exactly what to do and say when the buyers are calling, to qualify the buyers and sellers and to present to those buyers and sellers. So they want to work with you and only with you. And we show you how to negotiate a higher fee than what you're making right now. Okay. So think about this. Would you like to increase what you net in your pocket without having to work harder? Everybody knows, yeah, if you work 8 days a week instead of 5 days a week, you'll make more money. We don't want you to do more. We want you to earn more. And this is how we do it. So I want to thank everybody for being with us. If you found this extremely helpful, let us know in the comments. Okay. And if you have any questions, we'll follow up. But if you have any questions or comments on this, we really appreciate you typing those into the comments right now. I'll put in my information again. What I offered everybody was a free breakthrough call. We would do it on Zoom, just like we're doing now, so we can actually show you how this works. And you're going to go to craigproctorplan.com. We'll type that link in, craigproctorplan.com. Pick a day and a time that works for you, and we'll see you on the other side. I want to thank Nick and Patrick for doing an awesome interview here today, guys. Thank you.
Our pleasure. We enjoyed it.
Final thoughts before we wrap it up.
Man, just do like Nike. Just do it. Just start.
Just do it. Well, I'm glad you guys did. Better late than never. And I know, Patrick, you said you did that math about how much money it cost you to kind of wait in the sidelines. That's true for everybody watching this, right? It's what we don't know that's the opportunity. Think about this. What we know is the problem. And what we don't know is the opportunity. And sometimes we just get locked into what we know. Maybe you're kind of good at what you know. You got into real estate, you look around at all the way the other agents are doing it. So it just becomes, hey, this is how I do it, right? We don't question it. We want you to start questioning it. The opportunity isn't what you don't know, because the truth is this: no matter how much better you get at what you currently know, it's only going to get you incremental gains. Mm-hmm. Getting better at what you know will only get you incremental gains. And that's not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about exponential gains. And the way for you to realize exponential gains is to start to learn about what you don't know how to do, and to stretch your paradigm. So we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for being with us, watching the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. And Nick and Patrick will get you back on a little later on the year, check in and see how biz is going.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you all next time. Take care.